What's up, guys? Welcome back. We got comedy again, which is one of our favorites.
I love comedy.
Yep, Sam says that every single time we do a comedy video, that she loves comedy, and I would agree. It's been a fun ride thus far. We got so many different comedians. One of them was George Carlin that we got into early on. It's been a little while since we've done one of his. I think the last one that we did was Soft Language.
Yeah.
And that was a little while ago.
That was funny. I like that one.
So this one's a little bit longer. It's 20 minutes. List of people who ought to be killed. This sounds like a little bit of a darker skit from George Carlin, but he does tend to nail that pretty well. The darker side of
agreed.
things. So, without further ado, let's get into one of the greats, George Carlin.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Now, something else a lot of you are aware of, those of you with illegal cable hookups will be aware of the fact that one of the things I like to do in my shows is complain. You know, it's kind of a motif for me, complaining. And of course, this weird culture we live in leaves you no shortage of things to complain about. So this next piece of material, like most good ideas, is fairly simple. It's just a list of people who ought to be killed. Starting with these people who read self-help books. Why do so many people need help? Life is not that complicated. You get up, you go to work, you eat 3 meals, you take 1 good shit, and you go back to bed. What's the fucking mystery? And the part I really don't understand, if you're looking for self-help, why would you read a book written by somebody else? That's not self-help, that's help. There's no such thing as self-help. If you did it yourself, you didn't need help. You did it yourself. Try to pay attention to the language we've all agreed on. And a similar mystery to me, motivation books, motivation seminars. Why would anyone need to be motivated by someone else? I say if you lack motivation, a seminar isn't going to help you. What you really need is to be smashed in the head 30 or 40 times with a golf club. That'll fucking motivate you. Or else it'll at least get you up and moving around the room. You know, locate your socks, shit like that. Get the day rolling. Motivation is bullshit. If you ask me, this country could use a little less motivation. The people who are motivated are the ones who are causing all the trouble. Stock swindlers, serial killers, child molesters, Christian conservatives. These people are highly motivated. Highly motivated. You know? And anyway, I think motivation is overrated. You show me some lazy prick who's lying around all day watching game shows and stroking his penis, and I'll show you someone's not causing any fucking trouble, okay? All right. Hey. All right. Here's another pack of low-grade morons who ought to be locked into portable toilets and set on fire. These people with bumper stickers that say, "We are the proud parents of an honor student at the school," you know? Or the Midvale Academy, or whatever other innocent-sounding name has been assigned to the indoctrination center where their child has been sent to be stripped of his individuality and turned into an obedient, soul-dead, conformist member of the American consumer culture. Proud parents. What kind of empty people need to validate themselves through the achievements of their children? How'd you like that to live with a couple of these misfits? How's that science project coming along, Justin? Fuck you, Dad. You simple-minded prick. Mind your own business and pass the Cheerios. Here's a bumper sticker I'd like to see. We are the proud parents of a child whose self-esteem is sufficient that he doesn't need us promoting his minor scholastic achievements on the back of our car. That would really feel good. Or we are the proud parents of a child who has resisted his teacher's attempts to break his spirit and bend him to the will of his corporate masters. Just be nice a little for change, you know? Here's something realistic. We have a daughter in public school who hasn't been knocked up yet.
It's funny how a lot of these ideas, I think he would have a field day with today.
Oh, yeah.
In that, with social media, I feel like he would be all over the influence of social media. And, in the beginning, he was talking about the motivation and the self-help stuff. And that's clearly very, very prevalent on social media nowadays. I also think there's a fine line nowadays between like motivation stuff and actual coaching of sorts. Like a self-help book, like he was saying, like you're trying to read the book to figure things out and get help and do it on your own, right?
Yeah, it sounds almost like a backwards.
It is, right? And even motivation, like I like to watch motivational videos from time to time if I'm going to go to the gym or something like that, get me pumped up, but it is definitely not a long-lasting component.
No.
You know what I mean? Like you're not going to stay motivated. If you haven't changed the way you approach things, you're never going to change completely. It's just going to give you a temporary boost. Like he
100%. It's a temporary emotion, right?
And that's what he was saying. Like, well, in terms of motivation, how about I just beat the crap out of you? That'll get you motivated.
Yeah.
So, I'll chase you around the house and that'll definitely get you moving type thing.
Yeah.
So that's what he's saying, right? Is that
For
motivation is temporary. And then the stuff that he was just talking about here about school, I find that that's an interesting dynamic too. And I totally agree with that. And, there's so much indoctrination that happens in school for the wrong reasons. And even like, the way we approach medical science, a lot of the times it's like not like we're trying to treat the issues, right? We're just trying to treat the symptoms. Right?
Yep.
And so it's like, that's seemingly relevant at this time. I can't remember when this was from, but I feel like it's even gotten worse as we've gotten down this road of more corporate monopolies that are forcing viewpoints on people that they don't necessarily get any benefit from.
Yeah, and I think also too, like just kind of going back to what you were saying about the beginning, I think like the difference too between now and then is that like in the sense that he'd probably have a field day about today, is that one with social media, but also two with self-publishing, with things like, Amazon publisher, Kindle publisher, like literally anyone and their mother can put something out and everyone can have access to it now. So it's like, these kind of self-help books, like at one point, I understand they're not for everybody, but at one point I think they were actually at least like self-developmental and teaching something, whereas now it's more of just like everybody just giving their opinion on things. Yeah,
it's not really backed up in anything fundamental.
Exactly.
Right? And I think like, George is, like we said, list of people who ought to be killed. And it's funny because he's like taking a darker approach to this, but there is truth in what he's talking about. But on the other hand, it's like you also have people that take the initiative to try to be self-aware and improve themselves, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So it's like,
well, yeah, the one thing I will say, and don't hate on me, is that he made the argument that somebody who's staying at home all day doing nothing, watching game shows and jacking off, like they're not causing any problems. But it's like, but they are, because they're not contributing to society in any positive way, right?
So if you're not being productive in any way, but you're being productive in a way that isn't helpful either, there's both sides of the coin.
Exactly.
Right. So I think that's the theme of what we're getting into here that I just wanted to touch on, was that there's going to be some truth that he discusses. And, you could probably find nuance on both sides of the equation of where, education is good in some respects. But when you have it being, brain dead people that are just like, okay, you told me to think this, I'm going to think this. And that's a good thing. Anyways, let's
manipulated
continue.
Agenda.
And we're only 4 minutes in. We got a 20-minute video, so let's keep it going.
Long way to go.
To break his spirit and bend him to the will of his corporate masters. Just be nice a little for change, Here's something realistic. We have a daughter in public school who hasn't been knocked up yet. We have a son in public school who hasn't shot any of his classmates yet. But he does sell drugs to your honor student. Plus, he knocked up your daughter. Then there are the people who aren't too proud of their children. We are the embarrassed parents of a cross-eyed little nitwit who at the age of 10 not only continues to wet the bed, but also shits on the school bus. Something like that on the back of the car might give the child a little more incentive, Get him to try a little harder next semester. Here are some more parents who ought to be beaten with heavy clubs and left bleeding in the moonlight. These are the ones who carry their babies around in these backpacks or front packs or slings, or whatever these devices are called that are apparently designed to leave the parents' hands free to sort through high-end merchandise and reach for their platinum credit cards. Because it's always these upscale, yuppie-looking Greenpeace, environmentally conscious assholes who have them on, you know? I say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Natural Fibers. I say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Natural Fibers. It's not camping equipment, it's a baby. Touch the little prick now and then. He'll thank you for it someday. These are the same people who sort their garbage, jog with their dogs, and listen to Steely Dan. You know? You just like to take them out deep into the forest and disembowel them with a wooden cooking spoon. There are some more people who ought to be smashed across the face repeatedly with a piece of heavy mining equipment. These grown men who refer to their fathers as my daddy. You know? Yeah. Gee, you hear a lot of this stupid shit in the South. These rebel assholes, you know. My daddy, yeah, my daddy. Well, you know what my daddy used to say? My daddy used to say, blah, 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 blah. Oh, he did? Did he? Well, wasn't that fucking enlightening? My daddy used to say, fuck your daddy. Fuck your daddy. In his wrinkled, rustic, rural, country asshole. Grow up, Billy Joe, Carl, Bob, Danny, Frank. You're not 6 anymore. More like 9. Here's another unfortunate pack of mutants who ought to be penciled in for a sudden visit from the angel of death. These guys who can't tell you about a phone call they had without giving you this shit. The fucking pinky and the thumb. Like they attended mime college. Studied under Marcel Marceau. So I call her up, you know? And I'm talking to her. And she fucking hangs up on me. So I hang up on her. And she calls me back. I fucking hang up again. I say, hey, Bruno, thanks for the visual aid. But we all understand the concept of the telephone.
I don't know anybody who does that.
I don't really either.
Maybe this was a thing, like, whenever this was out, maybe like almost 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
I honestly can't think of anybody I've ever seen do that.
I've never in my life been like, so I called somebody
and
then I talked to them on the phone.
Yeah, I definitely cannot see you doing that by any means.
You hold it in your hand, you talk into it. Excuse me, Bruno, incoming call. Oh, hey, it's for you. Here's another bunch of puss-headed telephone cretins. These self-important techno dicks who walk around with these hands-free telephone headsets and earpieces. Mr. Self-Important doesn't want to be too far from the phone in case Henry Kissinger calls. He's got the Dalai Lama on line 2. I say, hey, spaceman, as long as your hands are free, reach over here and fondle my balls, would you please?
That's just another example of how far things have changed since then, because like so many people have Bluetooth wireless devices now because of technology.
Yeah, but I think he was talking about hands-free phones in particular. I don't know if they would have had wireless headphones still at that point.
Yeah, I think he's talking about those like wireless headsets.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying like at that time it was considered that you thought you were like the crap if you were using them, whereas now like almost like so many people use those to drive and stuff like wireless. They were using wireless headsets or like Bluetooth in your hands-free in your car. Like Bluetooth device of having wireless phone calls is like very common.
Yeah, I
watch.
agree. You can pick up your phone and answer it if somebody calls you instead of having somebody on dial every second.
And answering machines. Starting with these people who think it's cute to let their children record the outgoing message. You know? And you can't understand a word of it because the kid's a fucking imbecile. Hi, my name is Stacy. I'm 5 years old. My mommy and daddy aren't home. Here's my message, Stacy. I'm coming over to your house with a big knife. And I'm gonna kill mommy and daddy. Then I'm gonna peel off their skin and make a funny hat. After that, I'm gonna take out my huge ding-dong and stick it right in your...
Don't know anybody that did that either.
These are the same parents who at Christmas time send you pictures of their children. Pictures you didn't ask for and you don't want. But it is fun throwing the pictures away, isn't it? I don't even look at the fucking Christmas card. Who is this? Luann is 12 this year. Fuck Luann. I give it.
George is embodying the grumpy old man in this one.
He really is.
He just hates the world.
Like everybody.
Lists of people ought to be killed. Everyone.
Yeah, literally, basically, like every average human.
I don't know anybody who did that thing with their kids. Like, I don't know that either. I used to know people that would use like a song on their answering machine, the voicemail. But I guess maybe he's talking about like on their home phone. They put kids on there at that time because you'd have answering machines at home versus a voicemail as much today. And
yeah.
Anyways, I just, like I said, I've never heard anybody do a kid.
I've heard people they'll be like, "You've reached that," and then all the people say their name and like the kids say their name and stuff, but not like on like a home answering machine, not
Shit,
a
how
mobile.
old she is. Does she have any tits yet? Send me a picture of Luann's tits. Then I know I'm gonna have a happy new year too. Then, just to compound your holiday pleasure, they enclose a family newsletter. Just what you're hoping for. News about people you can barely fucking remember. We're so proud of Brad, he's been accepted into dental school. Yeah, in the Philippines. After 4 tries. Fuck Brad and everybody who looks like Brad. Judging from his picture, I think he's jerking off too much. Keep him away from Luann. Here's another bunch of genetic defectives who've been turned loose on answering machines. These guys who cannot resist the urge to put music on their outgoing message. You know, some guy spends $8 at Radio Shack and suddenly he's a fucking record producer. And because he's busy in the basement jacking off his dog, I have to listen to substandard music. And it's always rotten music, you know? It's either new age, that pointless, meandering zombie noise played by pseudo-spiritual lunatics who think wind chimes are a musical instrument. Or else it's soft rock, that lame-ass, weak, non-threatening suburban white boy junk played by bands like Men Without Testicles. Oh, and folks, on these answering machines, do me a favor, would you please? When you record your outgoing message, don't bother telling me you can't come to the phone. I understand that. Apparently, that's why we have these machines. And don't tell me to leave my name and number. Somehow, I figured that out. And if you work in an office, never mind that stuff, I'm away from my desk. If you had to take a shit, say so. Just say, "Hi, this is Mary Louise. I had the Mexican jalapeno bean chili dip, and I washed it down with a gallon of gin. I'll be in and out all day." There are some more people who ought to be strapped into chairs and beaten with hammers. People who wear visors. Let me ask you something. What the fuck is the point in wearing half a hat? Either get a hat or don't. No one's interested in the top of your head. Go back to the store and tell them to give you the rest of the hat. They cheated you. Better still, get yourself one of them little Jewish hats and sew it to your visor. Then you got yourself a full-fledged fucking hat, my friend. Here are some more musical vermin whose mothers we wish had had medical plans that included abortion. These singers who think they're so special, they only need one name. Bono, Sting, Jewel, Tiffany, Prince. What a crock of shit. Get a fucking last name, would you please? I got a nice two-word name for you. Pretentious cocksucker. How do you like that? Bono, Sting. It's not bad enough the music sucks, but with no last name, you can't find out where they live to throw a fucking bomb through their window. It's frustrating. Here are some more people who deserve an inoperable tumor at the base of their spines. These guys who fly around the world in a fucking balloon. You know? What is this, 1850? Get a fucking airline ticket, will you, please? When are the media gonna realize no one's interested in some rich trouser stain who's so bored he's gotta fly around the balloon all day? I hope the next guy gets hit by lightning. It flies around in little fart circles. And lands in a sewage treatment pond and sinks with the rest of the turds. Mr. Lighter Than Air. Here is another pack of jack-offs who ought to be strangled in front of their children. People who pay for inexpensive items with a credit card. You know, folks, take my word for this. Raisinets is not a major purchase. Get some fucking cash together. No one should be paying a bank 18% interest on Tic Tacs. And you're holding up the fucking line, too. Some dorky-looking prick with a fanny pack waiting to be approved for a bag of cheese doodles. I need this like I need an infected scrotum. Get some fucking money. Next guy ahead of me online pays for Newsweek with a credit card is getting stabbed in the eyes.
So, I mean, it's funny. I'm reflecting on George now, and after we've seen so many of the other comedians out there on our channel, we got, I don't know, probably 120 videos at this point. And after being exposed to George early on, I thought that he was like one of my favorite comedians. Mm-hmm. And I do really, really love his early stuff. I think that it's like so creative and so well done and so witty. Mm-hmm. I think he's like, I'm fine. You guys are going to disagree with me on this, and that's completely fine. I know people love George Carlin and think he's a legend. And if it's your style of comedy, by all means, you can enjoy it. I just don't think I resonate with this kind of comedy as much. He's trying to be provocative and say explosive material to get a response, which I get. And it's more of a darker tone, which, a lot of people will take even today, they take that stance on, trying to provoke people by saying things. I just feel like I resonate more, like I said, with the wittier comedy from George Carlin. This, I think, it's more of taking subjects that at the time were maybe relevant and poking fun based on his beliefs of things. Yeah. And so I think after, like I just started saying, after we've done so many other comedians, I don't like this as much. I got to be honest. And you guys are going to come in and do what you always do on those comments and be like, what are you talking about? How can you criticize George? He's the greatest ever. It's just personal preference, right? And for me, I think you're probably going to agree basically with what I'm saying. And I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I tend to know you pretty well. And so I think for me, it's just, it's somewhat funny, but I'm just, I'm not laughing my ass off being like, okay, I wasn't expecting that, so to speak. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, he did forewarn us at the beginning that he's just going to go on a rant of complaining, which is essentially what he's doing.
Yes.
I would agree, though. I think that when we first did the first couple from him with like the 7 dirty words and the time, I thought those ones were incredible. Like he was so great. Like you said, very witty, very creative. That is a completely different style of comedy, in my opinion, than this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that this is bad, but like you said, it's just different. And like you stopped and said it before, like he's just embodying like a grumpy old man. And that's kind of the vibe that I get from this. And I'm not trying to like hate on him, but I just feel like he's literally just cynical and just complaining about everything. And some
that's
of it,
his style, clearly,
yes.
right?
And some of it is, like you said, I think some of it is indicative to the time. Like if you were there in this time period, you could probably like catch more humor because you could relate to maybe some of the things he's talking about by being like, oh yeah, I find that so annoying, right? Whereas some of them maybe aren't as relative now, so that's not why we're finding them as funny as much. To me, also 20 minutes of this is a lot. So like the first like 5 minutes, I feel like I was kind of like laughing a little bit more because I was like, he's kind of has this like you said, like negative kind of, you know, play on things of dark humor, and he's coming up with very creative ways to kill people. But I think like now that we're getting into 15 minutes of it, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm over it.
Yeah, and some people are really going to enjoy that, and that's fine. That, you know, like I said, that style of humor they're probably going to really find entertaining. For me, I prefer, like, even when we did Saving the Planet, and even Soft Language, like those were more specific topics that he covered, that I thought were wittier and more well done.
Agreed.
So I prefer, you know, I think even with George and some of them, like there's going to be certain topics he probably touches on that you don't find as funny because there's not as much truth from your perspective. Yeah,
from your own thoughts and beliefs.
Right. Like, so if for the Saving the Planet one, for example, if you're an environmentalist, right, you're probably not going to find that that one as funny.
Yeah.
You've even touched on that a little bit in this one, you know, poked fun at the environmentalists again. And I think that aligns with his viewpoint and how he perceives things rather than a generalized, outlandish stance on something that most people agree on, right? I think like this is more nuanced of where you're going to find some of it funny and some of it not. And I think that I'm just saying that I resonate more with, you know, something that is you can identify as being just generally funny, that most people are going to find it funny. And I think this is more nuanced, that some people are going to really like this and other people aren't. So anyways, let's do the last 4 minutes and then we'll wrap up with some closing
thoughts. I was going to say one thing, but I'll say it at the end.
And I'm getting really sick of guys named Todd. You know,
I don't know any Todds.
It's a goofy fucking name, okay? Hi, what's your name? Todd. I'm Todd. And this is Blake and Blair and Blaine and Brent. Where are all these goofy fucking boys' names coming from? Taylor, Tyler, Jordan, Flynn. These are not real names. You want to hear a real name? Eddie. Eddie is a real name. Whatever happened to Eddie? He was here a minute ago.
Iron Maiden mascot?
Jackie and Johnny and Phil, Bobby and Tommy and Danny and Bill. What happened? Todd and Cody and Dylan and Cameron and Tucker.
Shout out to anybody with those names in the audience.
Todd. Hi, Todd. I'm Tucker. Fuck Tucker. Tucker sucks. And fuck Tucker's friend, Kyle. There's another soft name for a boy, Kyle. Soft names make soft people. I'll bet you anything that 10 times out of 10, Nicky, Vinny, and Tony will beat the shit out of Todd, Kyle, and Tucker. Thank you very much. Here are some more people with missing chromosomes who ought to be thrown screaming from a helicopter. Gun enthusiasts, you know? Oh yeah, I'm a gun enthusiast. Oh yeah, well I'm a blowjob enthusiast. You want to see me shoot? Cock this and I'll discharge a load for you.
That was witty.
Against guns. I'm not one of those mindless Hollywood cocksuckers. I'm not against guns. I'm not against bullets. I'm not even against people shooting each other. Shit, shooting somebody's part of the American dream. I don't care who it is. Parents, teachers, kids, fuck them. Let them get shot. Doesn't bother me. But speaking of mindless Hollywood cocksuckers, before Charlton Heston became president of these dickless lunatics in the NRA, they had a different guy. He's still one of their major spokesmen. His name is Wayne LaPierre. What kind of a name for a gun nut is Wayne LaPierre? Doesn't this sound a little fruity to you? Hi, I'm Wayne. I'm a gun person. Bang, bang. You know what this prick's name ought to be? Biff Webster. Spud Crowley, a man's name, Chuck Steak.
Chuck Steak.
Here are some more men who ought to be strapped to a gurney and castrated with fishing knives. White guys who shave their heads completely bald. You know? They're so ashamed they lost 11 hairs, they're going to try to turn it into some kind of a masculine statement. I say, hey, you goofy-looking, baldy-headed fuck. Looks good on black guys. On you, it's ugly, repulsive, and disgusting. You want to be bald? Do what I did. Wait a while. Yeah. Meantime, there's no excuse for running around looking like a freshly circumcised dick. And just to wind up this little group of complaints, finally, this is a group of social criminals. These people in the space program. Nassholes, I call them. In case you haven't heard, the latest disaster for the rest of the universe is that the United States is going to go to Mars. Okay? Oh, yeah. We're going to go to Mars. And then, of course, we're going to colonize deep space with our microwave hot dogs and plastic vomit, fake dog shit and cinnamon dental floss and lemon-scented toilet paper and sneakers with lights in the heels. And all these other impressive things we've done down here. But let me ask you this. What are we going to tell the Intergalactic Council of Ministers the first time one of our teenage mothers throws her newborn baby into a dumpster, huh? How are we going to explain that to the space people? How are we going to let them know that our ambassador was only late for the meeting because his breakfast was cold and he had to spend half an hour punching his wife around the kitchen? Now, what are they going to think when they find out it's just a local custom that over 80 million women in the third world have had their clitorises forcibly removed in order to reduce their sexual pleasure so they won't cheat on their husbands? Can't you just sense how eager the rest of the universe is for us to show up? Can't you see them out there?
Also, that's so interesting. I mean, I enjoyed the last 5 minutes probably the most out of all of it in terms of like his, wittiness that he had in there. Mm-hmm. It's funny though, like seeing again, coming back to the time frame that we were talking about in space travel, and colonization of Mars, right? Yeah. And how far technology has come. And I would imagine if George was around today, he would probably be mind blown with how far technology has come.
With the assholes.
Yeah.
And SpaceX.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I honestly think that like I'm all for the colonization of Mars because I think that that's the one thing that would prevent civilization from going extinct. Yeah. Right? Say if like an asteroid or there's a nuclear war or something like that happens in the next, 50, 100 years, because it seems like it could happen. If you're on a different planet, your species survives. If not, it doesn't. Like that's, the only way you can get away from going extinct is if you're on a different planet, essentially, right? That's your best probability of survival in the long term from a species standpoint. Anyways, to go on a rant about George Carlin and NASA and space. Anyways, but it wasn't even possible, obviously, to consider that now, and it is a possibility to consider that we're going to be able to colonize another planet soon. But I think he's hitting on the point of like we can't even get our own shit together here on the planet, and now we're going to go expand into the universe
intergalactically,
which is 100% true. Like
agreed.
So much things day to day, like the materialistic stuff that we look at, and basically our lives depend on in so many respects is so. I think 100 years from now, people are going to look back and be like, we were so primitive at that point. Yeah. Right. So anyway, anything else you wanted to add? You had, when we paused, you said you were going to talk about some stuff. And
I was just going to say that I think that like sometimes he reminds me in a completely different way. Like they're very different, but I feel like Bill Burr is somebody who will kind of go on like complainy kind of rants.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's not just that straight for like 20 minutes. It's like he'll make fun of somebody or poke at somebody or kind of like complain a little bit, but then he'll have more of like an overarching topic that he's talking about and come back with more wittiness around that.
Yeah.
And it's more mixed in throughout, like his insults or his like provocativeness. It's not just like that for 20 minutes straight.
Yeah, I could definitely see that similarities, and he would probably take a list of people who ought to be killed. I could see him doing
like
something
taking that
like
dark,
that.
kind of more cynical take, but I feel like it just wouldn't be as much of just like a hammer rant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I enjoyed the last 5 minutes more than any of the other 15, I would say. Just my personal preference, guys. I know you're going to disagree, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. You can come in and hit me in those comments. That's fine. No big deal here. We've all got different tastes. I think after, doing, like I said, over 120 comedic videos, just have a particular acquired taste now. And it's ironic that I look back at George because, like I said, he was one of my favorites growing up. But I think a part of that is that my views on the world have changed a little bit as well. So, I find certain things today that are relevant today that comedians approach today way more funny because I can, appreciate the relevance to the topic a little bit more.
Where you're at and your mindset and stuff. Yeah.
Whereas this stuff, although some of it is still relevant, I think you're always going to find that comedy has some truth and provocativeness, and it's going to resonate with some people more than others. And that's why, like, some people love late night TV talk show hosts, like, Jimmy Kimmel or Stephen Colbert or whoever, right?
Yeah.
They find them super funny. More people on the left are going to find them super funny because they make fun of Trump all the time or something like that. I don't find it necessarily as funny personally. I find somebody like Shane Gillis a little more funny. So, everybody's got their acquired taste.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to the style too, right? Like we've been exposed to so many different styles, like fully pre-written out skits that have nothing to do with like specific topics or just like an acted out fabricated situation. We've done ones that are people talking about their own personal experiences. We've done with people making fun of other people making fun of themselves, right? So like all of those I think are we've done like comedic songs, right? So there's like so many different styles of comedy that I think that it really just comes down to your personal cup of tea.
Yeah. And like I said, for me, I was a hardcore lefty when I was younger. Like when George was popular, I was a hardcore lefty. I would probably identify with all the stuff that he's talking about. And now as I've matured, I've changed my ideas. I wouldn't say like I'm a,
hardcore on
Bible
the right.
thumping conservative over here,
Yeah,
but
no.
I would say my ideas have just changed a little bit, and I think the world is changing a little bit too. So you're going to resonate with different ideas, and I'm not trying to get political, guys. So I know the comments are going to be heated. I know you guys are going to go in there and go light off the fireworks now. That's fine. I'm accustomed to it at this point, but it's just, to me, it's comedy, right? Like you're going to find some of it more funny than others, and some of you are going to love it. I thought it was okay.
It's like everything in the world, right? Like you're going to like some music more than other musics. You're going to like some genres of movies other than other genres of movies.
That's why we have personal tastes.
Exactly.
So let us know what your personal tastes are down below.
Yes.
And let us know where you want us to go next with comedy. If you enjoyed this, if you didn't enjoy it, fine, no worries. Let us know how you think that George Carlin played out in his career. For me, I love early George Carlin.
Same.
Some of it later on I did enjoy. I think I enjoyed
some of the middle
less.
stuff is still pretty good.
Yeah. So anyways, if there's other stuff that you think we might enjoy from George, let us know. And other than that, hit the subscribe button, notification bell. We'll see you in our next video.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you then.